Researchers found 3 man-eating Nile crocodiles.
I'm talking about the killer Nile crocodile, 3 of them captured near Miami.
They have a shoot-on-sight order for Nile crocodiles in the Everglades.
The uncertainty of other Nile crocodiles making the Florida Everglades home is causing major concern.
Those crocs have been interbreeding with the American saltwater crocs, and we're starting to find 19 and 20-foot long crocs on the west coast that are eating cattle.
How did this happen? Beyond the pythons, monitor lizards, and iguanas, how did Nile crocodiles, one of the largest species of crocodilians alive today, invade the state of Florida? The first Nile crocodile known to have been living in Florida was caught in either 2000 or 2010, depending on the source you read. This male Nile croc, named Houdini, escaped the Billy Swamp Safari Seminole Reservation in Hendry County in 1996 or 1997. Although the animal was still contained in a perimeter fence that surrounded a 2,500-acre piece of land, the Nile crocodile was still left on its own and living in a wild environment, exposed to the natural elements and left to fend for itself. At the time of its escape, the crocodile was 4 to 5 feet long, and at the time of its capture, it was 10 feet long. The crocodile was even featured in the Nat Geo Wild series Swamp Men. This was the first piece of evidence to suggest the Nile crocodile was capable of living in Florida. The next observed Nile was in 2009 when on April 14th of that year, a hatchling was found on the house porch of a resident in Miami. The hatchling was caught by Bob Freer of the Everglades Outpost, and it was then sent out to Klebert's Turtle and Alligator Farm in Hammond, Louisiana. After this, the next Nile croc would be caught on October 27, 2011 at the Redland Fruit and Spice Park, about a quarter of a mile away from where the 2009 animal was caught. Chris Rowland, manager of the Fruit and Spice Park, initially figured the intruder was a small American croc or spectacled caiman, but as it fattened up, growing to 4 feet, Rowland said it became more threatening. It was already pretty darn feisty, Rowland said. Normally a gator or crocodile that size would disappear if you got near it. This one was really a little more snappish and aggressive. For its removal, longtime croc expert Joe Wazalewski was brought in to remove the crocodile. It ended up being a nearly 4-foot long female, and Wazalewski ended up keeping the crocodile for a bit, but ended up giving it to someone else. Just within a year after this incident, in early 2012, a 4th Nile crocodile was sighted in a canal in Homestead with a length a little under 3 feet. It was said to be seen by a botanist with photographs taken of the crocodile. This Nile was actually captured on March 13th of that year. However, due to permitting guidelines and legal considerations, the Nile croc had to be released back to where it was caught. As absurd as this sounds, the reason is because due to the Nile crocodile being a protected species and part of the Endangered Species Act, proper permits and permission are needed to handle and house the species, even if it is found in an area out in the wild outside of its native range. After months of trying to capture the crocodile alive with permission, in August of that year, a special shoot-on-sight order was authorized for the young Nile crocodile. Only agents tied with FWC could be allowed to kill the animal, and if it was caught alive, it would have to be euthanized. After 2 years of pursuing the crocodile, it was finally caught on March 9, 2014 in Everglades National Park, about 10 miles away from where it was originally caught in 2012. Over the course of 2 years since it was originally caught, it nearly doubled in length, being about 5.5 feet long. After the animal was caught, it was determined to be a male, and it was revealed to have a largemouth bass in its stomach. The animal once again proved that Nile crocodiles are indeed able to live on their own and survive in Florida for extended periods of time. Although this would be the last confirmed sighting or capture of a Nile crocodile in Florida, the claims of more Nile crocodiles in the area did not stop. In an episode of Swamp People that aired in 2017, it was claimed that a local legend was beginning to spread about the Everglades. Nile crocodiles in a research facility supposedly escaped during a hurricane, and that at least one crocodile up to 20 feet long was living in the area. Beyond this, it was suggested that Nile crocodiles have been eating cattle from ranches in South Florida. Even today, people continue to believe that Nile crocodiles are still on the loose, lurking in the swamps of Florida. However, what is the likelihood of Nile crocodiles taking over the Everglades? The answer lies in this 2016 paper, which examined all the Nile crocodiles caught in Florida. One of the first things the paper wanted to establish was if the crocodiles caught were indeed the true Nile crocodile, Crocodilus niloticus, or another species which was once classified as a Nile crocodile, but is now a separate species, the West African crocodile, or Crocodilus sucus. Of the 4 animals caught, genetic material of the 2009, 2011, and 2014 animals were collected. The 2011 and 2014 crocs were confirmed to be Niloticus, with the 2009 individual suspected to be Niloticus 2, but some of the testing for this animal's genetic material went wrong during the study. Based on the genetics of these crocs too, it is believed that the crocs came from the same introduction pathway or source. The 2011 and 2014 Niles were even known to have been similar to Nile crocs from South Africa. As was already stated with the 2000 and 2014 individuals surviving by themselves, it's evident that Nile crocodiles are able to survive in Florida. Not only that, there's the belief they can travel decent distances. Although the straight-line distance from where the 2014 croc was caught versus its 2012 capture location was 10 miles, it's believed the crocodile actually traveled along 29 miles worth of winding canals to get there. It was also noted that closely related Crocodile and Attraction Homestead, Miami-Dade County are kept outdoors year-round without artificial heat sources, including during a record-prolonged cold period that killed many Native American crocodiles, as well as manatees, fishes, and non-native pythons. Although all the animals caught were on the younger side, given the fact the 2014 croc was first seen at a length of under 3 feet, a period in a croc's life when it's vulnerable, and still managed to survive 2 years later, shows the potential the species has at truly surviving and thriving in the Everglades. If a Nile crocodile population were to be established, it's likely that these crocs would eat much of the native wildlife in the area, and would compete with the Native American crocs and American alligators. It's also possible for the Nile crocs and American crocs to hybridize, and therefore dilute the purity of the American croc species in Florida. The study also highlighted risks people could face in terms of their own safety, as well as potential economic impacts. Nile crocodiles are well known to attack humans in their native range, and are a problem to cattle ranches, so it could be assumed Nile crocodiles would do the same over here if Nile crocodiles really did become a problem. But keep in mind the word I'm using here, which is if. Everything I just talked about are what ifs and nothing more. As of now, there is absolutely no evidence to suggest that there is an established population of Nile crocodiles in Florida, that they've attacked any cattle in the state, they're hybridizing with American crocs, or that there are any Nile crocodiles close to 20 feet seen in the Everglades. The media, once a 2016 paper came out, used this as an excuse to stoke fears, because, well, fear sells and gets people's attention. Simply, the situation got blown way out of proportion. But let me tell you now an invasive crocodilian which has absolutely been a problem for South Florida for several decades and deserves attention: the spectacled caiman. This medium-sized crocodilian, with males typically reaching lengths of 6 to 7 feet, is found in Central and South America. They are a highly successful species, with croc expert Colin Stevenson saying, quote, "At one stage, this caiman was considered to be one of the most numerous large vertebrate species in South America. They breed at a young age and adapt to modifications in their environment rapidly. This ability of the spectacled caiman has led to the species being a major problem in Florida. Due to how numerous the species is and its somewhat smaller size, this has made it a desirable pet for the pet trade. Due to this, many residents in the state bought these caiman as pets, and in the 1950s to 60s, it was reported spectacled caiman were being found in Florida outside of captivity, likely due to irresponsible pet owners. No matter the cause though, these caiman were an issue, and by the 1970s, it was evident they had established themselves in the state with at least one breeding population found at the time. Spectacled caiman are listed as being a species with high impact concern in Florida, with the concerns being eating native wildlife and competing with native crocodilians. Spectacled caiman aren't just a problem for Florida. They have been found outside of their native range, thriving in Cuba and the San Andres Islands in Colombia. This alone shows how much of a pest they can be if left unchecked. However, there is a glimmer of hope for the spectacled caiman issue. A study released in 2023 stated the spectacled caiman living in Florida may be decreasing in numbers. For several years, there has been a serious effort to monitor and remove all the spectacled caiman in the areas they live in. While removing all of them is unrealistic and eradication unlikely, there has been evidence showing that less of these animals are being seen in Florida. This effort has even possibly been tied to rebalancing of habitats. At least in one area where the species has been heavily hunted, there has been a resurgence in native alligators and crocodiles. This, amongst other things, is an encouraging sign that the work to control these invasive caiman is working. While spectacled caiman may not be the humongous predators Nile crocodiles are, they have been a much more serious threat to the native wildlife of Florida than these Nile crocodiles ever have. It's safe to say we don't have to worry about Nile crocodiles swimming around in the Sunshine State, but let's hope we don't have to find out what the state of Florida would be like with these gigantic crocs added to the mix. To learn more about the animals you just saw, buy my book, What We Get Wrong About Crocodilians. It examines claims of giant crocodiles, a World War II massacre, their regenerating tails, alligators in sewers, their record land speeds, and more. The book looks at a variety of subjects many people, including experts, get wrong about these animals, and I desperately wanted to dispel the myths that have persisted so long. Buy What We Get Wrong About Crocodilians in physical or digital formats. Link in bio, comments, or description to buy.